Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so today I'm using a square as my guiding tool. I'm using a black base and only 4 colours. I am going to swipe and I am going to embellish, and I'd love for you to join me on this journey to see how this creation evolves. I've listed all my colours in the description box below, so let's get started and let's see what we can create. I'm just layering my base colour. It's Lamp Black by Amsterdam, and I'm just making sure I get a consistent layer across the base. I lift the canvas up to make sure all the excess paint can run off, just so it's a flat surface, and I use my torch to get rid of the air bubbles, and I'm using a square. You've seen me use embroidery hoops before, but I thought I'd switch it up a little bit and use a square and swipe using this as a tool. So I'm using toilet paper as my swipe. It's a 3-ply toilet paper. I don't dampen it, it's dry. But first of all, I'm going to layer the colours around the square. I'm going to do 2 sides red and 2 sides orange. And then on each of those colours, I'm going to layer just a little bit of gold and a little bit of white. So in terms of consistency, I'm using a pouring medium and paint mixed together. 1 part paint to 3 parts pouring medium. My pouring medium is Floetrol, and I've just added just a small dash of water just to make it a little bit more fluid. So I've layered my orange and my red. I'm adding a little bit of white on top and then a little bit of gold. And that's going to help create some cells naturally. So there's no added cell formula here. There's no additive. It's just literally the mixture of the gold and the white with the orange and the red. Okay, so as I said, I'm using toilet paper as my swipe tool. And you'll see that I'm using a certain width. I fold it twice and create that width. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swipe that using that same width each side. And then later on, I'm just going to reduce the width slightly and to swipe over some of those areas again. And that's what's going to create a different look, a different depth to each side as I swipe. And the idea is to ensure that the colour, as you swipe, goes from quite a solid colour to a more lighter colour towards the end. And that's what's also going to create that depth and that movement as you swipe across the piece. And one piece of advice, just lay your paper on top of the paint, let it touch, and then just slowly glide the paper, making sure that it's connected to the paint from one side to the other. Don't apply too much pressure, just allow the paper to naturally soak into the paint and glide across the surface as you move it. So I'm going to swipe each side of this square, and as you can see, I just take the paper, place it on the surface, and then just glide it gently from one side to the other, and I'm not applying too much pressure. So I'm now taking my original paper and then just folding it in half again, and that's going to reduce the width of my swipe. And I'm just going to go over some of the areas with this reduced width paper to create some extra lines, to create some extra depth across those swipes that we've already done. And that's what's going to give that 3D dimensional effect of the swipe. I'm going to lift my square off the surface of the canvas, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my finger to bring some of those lines into the centre just a little bit more. I don't want such a sharp edge, so I'm just using my finger to soften that edge a little bit more, and then once it's dry I'm going to embellish it. So before I embellish, let me just take you in for a close-up of the wet version, just so you can see some of those details, some of those lines that we've created whilst we swipe, some of the cells that are being created naturally, and the technique that you've seen me use my finger to bring some of those lines into the centre. So now the time to embellish, and what I'm using is I'm using a gloss medium, and this is going to help the embellishment really stand out from the design, and that's something that I'm really keen to do in this piece as the centerpiece. So I'm mixing my colours with the gel medium, and then what I'll do is I will use a stencil in the middle of the canvas, and I will swipe over the combination of the gel and the paint over the stencil to create the design. So for the stencil and the embellishment, the only colour I'm not using is the white. I wanted to include a little bit of the red, the gold and the orange in the centre. And I'm just mixing that up just to make sure there's a different colour in each section. And then I will slowly lift the stencil from the canvas to reveal the design itself. And there you can see the design that we've created. So let me show you the close-up of the dried version, and guys, I love it. Okay, so it was just 4 basic colours: the red, the orange, the gold and the white, using a swipe technique and then an embellishment in the middle of the canvas to make it a focal point. You can see by using the different widths of the toilet paper creates different lines and textures in the swipe, and then your eyes really drawn into the middle where that design is using the stencil. It's probably one of my favourites, if I'm honest, even though I don't use red and orange that much. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know what colours you'd like me to also experiment with using this swipe technique. Thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for joining me today. Remember, be kind to yourself when you're creating. We all evolve and we all make mistakes and we all make good creations, bad creations, whatever. It's all part of our journey. So take care of yourself, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.